My name is Abhijit. I'm the co-founder of an organization called as Bharat, Dekho. People mistake us as a touring company, and I don't deny. I said, yes, we are a touring company, a different kind with a twist. We say we tour the country. We tour the country which is a little bit broken. We tour the country which is also extremely beautiful, and we'll show you the country with action. You will see the country with action, and that's what Bharat Dekho stands for. Great. Let me tell you a few stories. This is Anita, is from a Narayanpet district in Telangana, remote location. She is sitting with her super 15 children outside a temple, and she is mentoring them to become the best version of themselves, including her. What is happening here is, you can call it a learning center, you can call it an after-school program. What I like to call this, she is generating hope. She is generating courage. She is generating the next future generation to be better human beings, better version of ourselves. We have a lot of learning centers across Telangana, and these learning centers are not limited to either schools or home, outside temple, outside masjid, mosque. Wherever you sit, learning begins from there. It's a mindset for us. It's not a space for us. We began in 2021. Right after COVID, me and my co-founder Romila, we were COVID volunteers. We saw the destruction firsthand, and we decided it's time for us to take responsibility and also to teach others how to be responsible in the community. And we chose, we need a new catalyst. We need young people. We talked about country's dividend, where we are going and seeing the large pool of youth in the country. So let's harness this, harvest this for the right cause. We started working with youth, 10 youth, 3 villages, 2021. Did some good work with them, and then we partnered with the government. The next year we worked with 400 to 500 youth with the support of the government, and the next following year we boomed, we scaled. We worked with 10,000 young people who worked with eventually 1 lakh children. With great rise comes a great fall, and we fell. There are sudden circumstances, unavoidable, extremely difficult, and the next very day the project was gone from our hand. From 10,000 cadets of young population, we landed up to 6 core team members staring at each other saying, what do we do next? I remember Meena there. Meena, I was a little upset. I was not trying to show my upset, trying to be bold, but Meena saw me, and Meena said, Bhaiya, don't worry. The power is within you. You can create again. One thing we realized, that hope do not get created in a barren land. If we need to create hope, the land has to be fertile, and that fertile land needs trust and friendship. And this is where we found one of our friends who gave me a call and said, Abhijit, can you come here and do what you were doing and start the work again? 3 days later, we were in Peddapalli, and we started the work again with the same energy, same enthusiasm. With this note, I would like to invite my friend here. I would like to invite the then District Collector of Peddapalli, Mr. Muzammil Khan, on the stage to join me in this conversation. Thank you, Muzammil ji. Thank you for being here. Thank you for trusting. Thank you for being our friends on this journey. I would like to ask you, before we begin there, what made you to trust us when others were very skeptical about us? What made you to trust on the youth and the work of the youth?
So Abhijit, a lot of the things that you might not know is that we had done our vetting and we'd seen the programs you'd done earlier. But most importantly, in administration, we started to realize that our primary goal is to make sure that supply matches demand. There's this desperate need for good education, translating into good employment. When you start to identify the cracks that need to be worked on, you start to look for collaborations. Now, we don't live in a world anymore where we think that the entire expertise and knowledge exists only within one system. We need to look outside. We need to find the best people that are doing this work already. We don't need to reinvent this wheel at every single point. And most importantly, when you realize that resource is available, utilize it in the right way and get things done. Because if we keep waiting forever to get plans off the ground, the kids keep graduating. No one child is going to wait in a classroom until we are able to deliver the perfect product. Yes, there will be some shortfalls. We should do our due diligence. We should do our safety checks. But this was the eagerness with which we welcomed you in, because we knew that you had a plan and we had the need. Matching both of those was our role in the administration at that point.
Thank you, Muzammil ji. And when purpose, trust, friendship comes together on a harvest land, on a fertile land, there comes growth. This is Shivani. Shivani was our volunteer in 2022. She handled a classroom. Shivani is right now in another room conducting another session. She was afraid to talk to 3 people at a time. Today, Shivani leads the entire project in Vikarabad district, working with 50 volunteers and 5 team leaders, managing the district administration also. Shivani is just in second year of her college. Growth is possible. Yes. But while we talk about these great stories, we cannot deny the reality. We are on the ground, on the grassroots, and every single day we see difficulties. We see children coming to school but going back without schooling and learning. As a district collector, you have a breadth of work. You do with many collectives, many organizations within. What has been your experience? Why does the reality exist? What are certain barriers on that?
Let me answer that in 2 parts. First being, look, all of us have options when we watch reality, right? You can either give up and say this is the way things have been, argumentative Indians, or you move past it and say, okay, this is the way things are, but how do I get it to a place where we could get it to a better place? Now, once you realize that your option for optimism isn't just individual, it helps society, because optimism is what drives you to want the tomorrow that you think your country and your district and your state deserves. It also becomes your duty to get started. Now, how you do this, how you see it, match it with the reality of day to day. You might see infrastructure crumbling, you might see teachers not as motivated as they should be, attendance not being so great, parents not being fully invested. If this is what we have, how do I get it to a point where responsible education, qualitative teachers, responsible teachers, all work together towards getting a student to a place where their ability matches their learning in classrooms? This is what requires action. So simply put, reality is simply the circumstance that we find ourselves in. It need not be what happens tomorrow. And once you realize this, you get started, right? That's what we did.
Thanks for that. Very interestingly, you talked about many stakeholders coming together. There's a challenge, and that's what we see on the ground. It's not so easy. As a theory, it looks good, collective action, but at a practice, it's very, very difficult to actually run a collective on a shared vision, shared goal, and a shared action. How do you help us? How do you go and navigate these things?
You could probably call it the symphony of noise, but there is meaning to it. We come from a tradition which has always valued multiple perspectives. So collective action, the advantage of it is you have multiple perspectives. Yes, giving it coherent direction requires a lot of debate, requires everyone to buy into the idea that you're trying to drive, but it's possible. And in our society and in our country, it has never been a bad thing to have multiple opinions and multiple perspectives, because all of them have an element of truth in them. That's what we're Anekvada, right? That's what we're going to do with this collective too. Once you decide that this is where we want to get, these are the various ways in which we can get there. What we have done earlier too, we pilot some of these projects and see what works. And then everyone buys into the idea that this is what we want and this is how we get there. But the initial part of planning need not be monotonous, need not be this is how to do it, this is the only way to do it. There are a lot of ways to do it, let's debate it. Once we have had that debate, once we have achieved what we think is consensus, everyone goes towards the goal together. And our country has always done this well. I do not think that having multiple opinions has ever been a bad thing, nor will it ever be a bad thing, especially in something as important as education.
Beautiful. You touch upon 3 very critical areas. One, you are talking about having multiple perspective. We need to be open to listen. Second, you talked about having critical dialogue in this multiple perspective. And third, you talked about very critical consensus decision making. And that's the key of running a successful collective. We'll keep in mind, and we'll see that this collective grows, not only in Telangana, but across the country. So with this note, what we see here, that there are possibilities. The possibilities comes, there are challenges and there are possibilities, and possibilities only emerges when we shift internally, when we shift our mindset, when we open our mind to listen, when we are open to listen to the critical dialogues of the other and to work together. I really loved somebody yesterday talked about collective in a very simple way, seeing together, creating together, and doing together. That has been our also definition of collective. We are going to start a youth collective movement, not only in Telangana, but across the nation. We invite you to join us and help us shape this collective for a better tomorrow, a better country. Jai Hind.